Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, wow. Donald Trump, as we know, for months has been deploying the National Guard in Democratic cities around the country, saying that he is cleaning up crime. But we know the bigger crime is happening in the red states, which he's sitting there and ignoring. And, you know, there have been people objecting to it. And really, Congress should have been involved in this whole thing, just like Congress really should have been involved with all his attacks on Venezuela. But Donald Trump has taken it upon himself to use the National Guard and the military with his own advantage without going to Congress on these things. And the Supreme Court has recently shut this entire thing down. Donald Trump must send the National Guard home. He can no longer deploy them in all of these cities around the country, according to the Supreme Court. So I'm sure he's not happy about it. Donald Trump don't respect court rulings and laws, and he really believe he can do whatever he wants. But this was the ruling, which is shocking because the Supreme Court has really been going along with Donald Trump on a lot of things. But on this one thing, they're not going along at all. So, those of you that got members in your family that had to be deployed in all these different cities, well, your relatives are coming home. They are coming home. And Donald Trump was cheating them anyway out of money. They got cheated out of all kinds of money they should have gotten. And, he does things like that, but that's Donald Trump for you. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can hear about this Supreme Court ruling that Donald Trump must let the National Guard go home. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you. Thank you.
Alrighty, it's January 1st, and I have the ability to start your new year off with some good news. So here it goes. If you didn't know, Supreme Court recently ruled that Donny Boy's deployment of the National Guard in Chicago, despite the local leadership's hesitation, was unlawful. Now, as a result of that, he's pulling troops from all three cities, Chicago, Portland, as well as Los Angeles. To me, that's a great win for us now. However, in the unhinged dictator manner that he loves to live in, he did threaten the three cities that he'll be back in a stronger manner, apparently. So, I mean, listen, that to me sounds like he's threatening his own country, but this is my first go around living under a demented dictator, so the rules are a little fuzzy for me. But either way, I figured I should start your year off with this news of Donny Boy taking an incredible L. Y'all have a great one. Bye.
President Trump just pulled the National Guard out of LA. After courts ruled he overstepped, California took back control and Governor Newsom declared it a win. While Trump says the reason is that crime dropped, California claims it was illegal from the start and cost taxpayers millions.
Key news, and a huge defeat for Donald Trump. He's now pulling the National Guard out of Los Angeles, out of Portland, and out of Chicago after his 6-3 defeat by the Supreme Court. What? Yes, Donald Trump admitting defeat. Yes, Donald Trump lost on trying to use the National Guard to take over basically blue cities throughout the country. It did not work. They tried to bend the rules, fit his false narrative that there was violence throughout these cities that was out of control. The locals, the police could not control it, and they in turn had to send the National Guard in to quell the violence. Donald Trump, it was all a lie, baby. It was all a lie. Just like you want to nationalize everything to try to impact the elections this next year. Not going to work. And again, the Supreme Court called you out on it. They said, no, the American people saw what you were doing, other than those that can't see. And you lost. Donald Trump is a huge loser, with the Supreme Court voting 6-3. And now he admits it with egg on his face, pulling the National Guard again from LA, from Chicago, from Portland, and turning the National Guard back over to California. There you have it. Another defeat with Donald Trump losing on the Supreme Court, ruling against him deploying the National Guard. Love you. Another defeat with Donald Trump losing on the Supreme Court, ruling against him deploying the National Guard. Love you for my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, and my burned early bolts. What do you think?
Well, he's removing the National Guard from Portland, Los Angeles, and Chicago. You mean after the Supreme Court ruled that he'd improperly federalized the National Guard in Chicago, and right before the Ninth Court upheld the ruling that he had to return control of the California National Guard to Governor Newsom? It's like someone saying they were leaving the party after the police escorted them out. You do have to give him props and appreciate his commitment to lying and propaganda, even on major holidays, because his federalization of the National Guard was always illegal. Donnie is still not welcome here, and if he wants to show up and federalize more national troops into our blue cities, we will give them the exact same kind of welcome that they got last time, no matter what kind of threats he wants to make, that they'll come back in different and stronger forms. Because there were no violent riots and there was no invasion for the president to justify federalizing the National Guard or sending in any kind of military presence into U.S. cities to protect U.S. citizens or federal property. But he has to send out fresh meat to his base so he can seem like he did something good. But in reality, they were just gassing inflatable frogs.
Tell the truth. Don't be bullshitting people. Like I said, there's enough bullshit as it is. In fact, there's just enough. Did you know that? There's just enough bullshit in this country to hold things together. Bullshit is the glue that binds us as a nation. Where would we be without our safe, familiar American bullshit? Land of the free, home of the brave.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm kind of laughing. I had to giggle to myself, you know what I'm saying? Because the Supreme Court has denied President Trump's request to send the National Guard to Chicago to protect ICE agents, which is kind of funny to me, because I remember years, them boys out there in them backwoods to be like, man, if it ever goes down, we would win without a doubt. You ain't ready. Ain't nobody ready for what we got. Ain't no, and that's that. The ISIS was their chance. They joined. Them the ones that joined ISIS. Like, we gonna get rid of all these. And now y'all need the National Guard to come back y'all up. And which is crazy. And I'm laughing even at myself. I told them YNs, I was like, hey, this is the government we talking about. Y'all don't want to play with them people. And they said, y'all come to Chicago, we gonna show y'all. Come out here and we gonna show y'all. First of all, I don't even know what the hell y'all doing in Chicago. I don't even know what y'all doing out there. Though, because they had footage of them, they all in the projects. For what is you out there for? You better get your ass out of there. I don't know if y'all knew, them ain't no civil rights leaders living up there. They are not marchers, they are steppers. There's a difference. How about y'all get the hell on from out of there for somebody to bust your ass some more?
This is from an article directly from NBC News. It says, in an unsigned order, the court rejected the administration's claim that circumstances on the ground in Illinois met the criteria for the president to invoke a federal law allowing him to call up the National Guard to federal service. In a nutshell, what happened is the Supreme Court told Donald Trump and the rest of his fuck buddies to fuck all the way off, because there's obviously no reason to deploy troops on U.S. soil in American cities. They denied the Trump administration because they could not prove their claims. It's that simple. It's the same way where the Trump administration tried to say that Antifa was the biggest domestic threat we've ever seen. And they said, where is Antifa? Name some of its members, name some of these attacks that make them the biggest domestic threat. And it was absolute silence. The Trump administration genuinely believes that you can step forward with fully false claims, do whatever the fuck you want to do with no consequence, no slowing down, no nothing. The majority of people that have been arrested by ICE are non-violent people, no criminal record. That's what pisses me off so much about this whole Nick Shirley Somali immigrant government scam thing, is that even if the whole story is fucking true, the only reason MAGA and Republicans and conservatives and all that, the only reason they currently care and why they turn a blind eye to all the scams and corruption and shit that are in this country naturally, not through immigration and shit, is just here. Some of it from the people they fucking support, is because it's in line with this narrative they're trying to push of where every immigrant is this evil human being that's only here to disrupt and break down America, when, as ironic as it sounds, the motherfucker they actually support is the one breaking down America. But the Supreme Court telling this orange motherfucker that you, in fact, can't just send the National Guard places willy-nilly, especially under false fucking claims, because you're too pussy to just come out and say, yeah, I'm trying to be a dictator. W for the courts. I have said it before, I'll say it again. We don't have a fucking Congress. We got like 50% of a judicial branch, and we got the executive branch not giving a fuck about checks and balances. We are very far from a W, ladies and gentlemen, but it's a solid W on the scoreboard. Good job, Supreme Court. Now make profiling illegal again and legalize abortion, and then while we're at it, go ahead and legalize Mary Jane nationwide. Just slip that in a fucking bill. Y'all slip shit in bills all the fucking time. Y'all can't. All right, okay, all right.
So Donald Trump announced today on his True Social that to comply with the Supreme Court ruling issued on December 23rd, 2025, he is going to withdraw the National Guard troops from Chicago, Los Angeles, and Portland. Within this decision that was issued on December 23rd, they stated that his utilization, or the justification that they tried to use for 10 U.S. Code 12406, does not meet the standard that they were trying to argue. And it was also a potential violation of the Posse Comitatus Act, something that I've been saying this entire time. Now, to be clear, that doesn't mean that this is a final decision from the United States Supreme Court from December 23rd, but at least we're getting somewhere with it, where he's finally complying for once in this current administration with judicial orders.
Friends, there we go. I want you to know that I could live in this office and never leave and continue reporting to you all of the bullshit antics this government continues to try to pull off. The wool over the red hat's eyes is constant. This time, Donald Trump posted that they are taking the National Guard out of Chicago because they have done that. Listen, read. He says, and I quote, "We are removing the Guard from Chicago, Los Angeles, and Portland, despite the fact that crime has been greatly reduced by having these great patriots in those cities, and only by the fact Portland, Los Angeles, and Chicago were gone if it weren't for the federal government stepping in. We will come back, perhaps in a much different and stronger form, when crime begins to soar again. Only a question of time. It's hard to believe that these Democrat mayors and governors, all of whom are greatly incompetent, would want us to leave, especially considering the great progress that has been made." President DJT. He's leaving because just before Christmas, the Supreme Court ruled against him. Do you remember? I was standing outside and I told you, holy shit, the Supreme Court actually did not rubber stamp this shit for him. That's why they're pulling out, because they made it fucking illegal. So, you know, when Woke Farmer was standing in the middle of Union Station telling those National Guardsmen that they were breaking the law, and how many court orders do they need before they
defy illegal orders, they were illegal orders. He just fucking blows smoke right up their asses and they buy it every goddamn time. He's pulling them out because he has to. Do you hear me? He's pulling them out because those are the cities that did not ask for a deployment of the National fucking Guard. Not because he wants to take them out, because if he doesn't, then he violates another court fucking order. And he probably doesn't want to risk pissing off the only group of people that could actually shut this man down right now because Congress has no fucking spine.
After a loss at the Supreme Court, the Trump administration now says that they are sending National Guard troops home in Los Angeles, Chicago, and Portland. They waited until after the holidays because the Trump administration truly cares about the troops, so they left them on their deployments through the holidays in these 3 cities, and now they're sending them home. Now, there will still be National Guard deployments. There's still going to be National Guard deployments from the D.C. National Guard in Washington, D.C. There's still going to be National Guard deployments from other states that voluntarily send their National Guard troops to Washington, D.C. And you're going to see the National Guard activated and sent out in other states that are usually going to be red states with blue cities that the Trump administration wants to target, similar to New Orleans, Memphis, stuff like that. You're going to see the National Guard still be used. But in places that the Supreme Court has ruled that the Trump administration had no legal authority to deploy those troops, such as Los Angeles, Portland, and Chicago, they are sending those troops home. They could have done this before Christmas. They chose to allow those troops to remain on deployment through Christmas. Why? Well, because they care.
All right, y'all. Boy, 2026 is going to be one hell of a year. I can see it coming already. So, anyway, there's a lot of things happening. Number one, with the insurance premiums, that is hitting now. And if you did not have a big premium, chances are you will now that we're in 2026. And as far as the National Guard, he'll still be utilizing it. He just won't be able to go to any city he wants at the end of the day. He won't be able to go wherever he wants. And we know, Donald Trump is only going to target blue cities. He's not going to target anything else but blue cities. And plus, the midterms are this year. So we'll see what direction he goes in. Because right now, it don't look like the Republicans are going to be winning in a big way because Donald Trump done pissed off a lot of people in this country. But time will tell, right? Time will tell. And yeah, let them go home, especially if you're not going to pay them right, Donald Trump. That's what I object to. You want to use the National Guard, then you want to try to screw them over when it comes time for them to get paid. So, y'all, it's a lot of things we got to look for. The government could again shut down over the next couple of weeks. They only funded the government up until the 31st of January. So we'll see what happens. But if you had friends or relatives that were in the National Guard and they were in some of these cities, then perhaps you'll be glad to know they're coming home. Y'all, please enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow on all different topics. Shalom, family.